Welcome to the British School of Houston mock presidential debate. I'm joined by our candidates Chase Koch and Sean Walden, representing the Republican Party, and Sean Byrne and Anna Radcliffe, representing the Democratic Party. Our first issue to be discussed is the economy. Well, how would you deal with it?
Well, the economy, as I have already told my VP, Romney has exploited the economy. For China, he's created 73,000 jobs, and he's exploiting children because it's cheap and he can afford it. So he's exploiting jobs to China.
And another thing that we would like to add into that is our opponent, the Republican Party, has been creating jobs for people overseas, whereas the Democratic Party has been able to create jobs for people in America. Since 1961, that's 52 years now, the Republicans have held the White House 28 years, the Democrat 24. In those 52 years, the Democratic Party has produced 66 million private sector jobs with the Republican Party. So if you split those 66 million jobs and say how many has created each, the Democratic Party has created 42 million and the Republican Party has only created 24 million. So it is clear that we are better at creating jobs and thus helping the economy.
What do you say
So
about
vote
the
Democrat.
Republican?
Well, I'm not really sure how increasing taxes for companies and small businesses really helps create jobs unless I'm getting everything backwards. Last time I checked, the way to create jobs is to empower small businesses, not tax them, because it's not the government's role to create jobs. And also, didn't you deny the Keystone Pipeline, which would have created tons of jobs, but now those jobs are probably going to China and other places?
Absolutely. Not only do I think that you have an official record of these jobs that have been moved overseas, but I also believe that in making the U.S. a much more prosperous place for these jobs to move those said exported jobs back to the U.S., that we can grow jobs here in America, and that's where they need to be grown. If we make it much more profitable for them to move the jobs back, then they'll move back. That's how business works. That's what the Conservative Party understands. Our Republican candidate is a businessman. He's been very successful in business throughout his life, and he understands how that works. That's something that the Democratic Party does not understand.
Okay, can I quickly?
No. Okay. Our second issue is the foreign policy. How would you deal with this?
Okay, so basically, the last Democratic president that we had was very successful in his foreign policy. As we know, he hunted down Osama bin Laden, whereas the rivaling candidate, Mitt Romney, said in one of his speeches that it wasn't worth moving the earth and the heaven just to try and find him. And he's been very successful, and doing so has done great things for the Democratic Party and showed that we have a better way of dealing with foreign policy. Would you like to add anything, Mr. Biden?
I was just saying, I remember our Republican Party opposition over here said that it was a tragedy ending war in Iraq. Think about that.
He would have
Ending
kept
war.
30,000 troops in Iraq indefinitely without a clear mission, whereas our party hopes to has ended the war, or kept his promise to end the war in Iraq responsibly and bring all our troops home. So,
What do you have to say about this?
Well, first off, I would like to say that the war in Iraq was left undone almost. It was more of a socialist retreat, if you will. Simply pulling out without having the problem solved is not the answer. That's not how you win wars. That's not how America conducts its business around the world.
But there is no clear plan that you have, like how you want to stay in Iraq without knowing what you're doing or what direction you're moving in.
Well, that's better than leaving without having a.
So it's better to
fix
waste
the
our
problem.
resources and waste lives, 30,000 troops specifically, without knowing what we're doing.
What's even worse is moving all of those resources that you were going to use to find one man. If you understand anything about the war, it's not about one man. He's dead, and the insurgency is still carrying on. By killing one man, you achieve nothing. He was nothing but a figurehead.
By killing one man, you're cutting the head off the snake.
Why would
that be a bad thing to
the
do?
very day after he was dead, he had someone replacing him. So
But-
congratulations, you killed Osama bin Laden, but now there's another one.
Also, let me just point this out. You can't really run that much on foreign policy considering that you basically put the world in turmoil in the sense that, let's think about Libya, the Benghazi incident. You knew, apparently, the Democrats knew, the White House knew about the incident, and you want to run on that you're so great at foreign policy. You need to, the war on Iraq isn't about one person, as I said. It's about defending the rights of people.
Yes. We need to figure out who our enemies are and who our friends are, especially in the Middle East and
Sean,
that
I'm
part of
going to
the world.
cut you here. So
Sorry.
The third issue is going to be healthcare. What did the Republicans have to say?
Well, healthcare is important, which is why we shouldn't really mess with this policy. You, on the other hand, want to nationalize healthcare, which would really, you say it's not a tax, but lots of businesses will have to go bankrupt because of this, because of the extended costs. And I kind of recall America having a good quality healthcare system, not because the government is here making sure that you're getting good healthcare, but because that private companies and also government programs will help create the healthcare industry. You, on the other hand, want to socialize medicine and make sure the government is
Yes.
making sure that you're healthy.
Yes.
That's not your role.
Our party understands that there are people that need to be looked after by the system. We also understand that we cannot provide health care for absolutely everyone in the country. That is that's an almost utopic statement to be able to provide for everyone who would be lagging down the system. You would be refusing care to people who could afford it. That's absolutely not acceptable. The people who are ready and willing to pay for the system, you would be denying them care. And middle class Americans, once again, are going to be the ones that are being taking the hit here from the Democrats once again, as they have been for the last 4 years.
I'd just like to say, this man, right here, he wants to, all you out there who have grandparents, grandmas, he wants to make subscription drugs cost more for them. People who aren't working, people who are retired, so he can sit back and he's cutting taxes for the rich people, not for the middle class. He wants to get money from the older people to help him with his budget for not charging the senior class.
Just some statistics to help you put this into perspective. The Democratic Party over the years has provided 13 million people more than $1 billion in rebates for being overcharged for their insurance companies. They've expanded access to free preventative services like flu shots, diabetes screening, and mammograms for 54 million Americans. And 3.1 young Americans now have health insurance because of the work that the Democratic Party has done for health insurance or for health care.
Our party wants to care for everyone. That's why we have Obamacare. We are one of the only civilized democratic nations that doesn't have universal health care. And that's what we're trying to achieve.
But does universal health care solve all your problems? Because if you really do look at the quality of health care, America has had a very good quality of health care.
For those who can afford it, but for
those who can afford it, there are people.
Let him.
Let me finish. It's not really your duty to interrupt someone. What happened? I don't recall saying that we're going to cut taxes on third. We want to cut taxes for everybody. The middle income Americans. You think differently. You want to equalize opportunity. You want to equalize success results. We want to equalize opportunity and create opportunity. You, on the other hand, want to guide people in their lives so that they have to follow your healthcare. They have to be dependent on the government. Last time I checked, people need to be dependent on themselves. And if necessarily they can't do that, the government is there to help them. It's not the government's role to take care of everybody. That's impossible.
Unfortunately, you keep referring to people who can't afford, and unfortunately, with your plan, you will be taking healthcare away from those who can afford it.
So
you will be taking the care down a notch for people who can afford it, and for people who do have serious illnesses but who can't afford it. So, who do you want? Do you want poor people who necessarily? They're.
Sean, I think we have to move on for the last topic. How would you deal with job increases in America?
Job increasing. Okay, so before I took office in 2008, America was losing 800,000 jobs a month.
Under the Republican Party.
After I took office, in the private sector, I've had a steady growth back up, and now we have 5.4 million jobs.
Including nearly 479,000 manufacturing jobs since January of 2010. And we've eliminated tax breaks for companies that outsource jobs overseas instead of providing incentives to companies that create jobs in America. Whereas the Republican Party has created tax incentives for overseas companies.
And I have cut taxes for the middle class up to $3,000 a year. When the Republican Party was in office, we were having to pay we were losing $2,000 a year.
Yes, but you see, by cutting taxes, as you have done, you once again revert back to this utopic topic that money comes from nowhere. The deficit has not been solved. We're working on borrowed time here when it comes to money. Okay, our government is on the brink of being bankrupt because of the way that you are running the country. We have to look after ourselves. Okay, if the people pay their taxes and the people pay their fair share, then they'll be able to live a life that they pay for. But if they don't pay for that, then how are we supposed to provide for them? Where's the money going to come from? I think that's a totally utopic topic, and the fact that you are not creating jobs in America is simply stunting this country's growth.
You're saying that we are creating jobs in America.
You're not doing it at a fast enough rate.
To China.
You're not doing it at a fast enough rate.